Hello everyone, Fantasy Flight Tactics just released their article for Luke Cage CO pack. I already took a look and formed a first impression on his kit and the included leadership cards. Yes, you heard me right. Luke Cage comes with the leadership aspect and not with protection. I think that really fits him though, so no complaints from me. Instead of going through the article, I prepared a short PowerPoint presentation. So grab a snack and lean back. First things first, let's take a look at Luke's alter ego. He has a passive ability that he shares with his hero side, Unbreakable Skin. It reads that Luke Cage can have any number of tough status cards. Attacks against Luke Cage lose piercing, already not too similar to Colossus, which is great to hear. Especially the fact that enemy attacks against Luke lose piercing is really important, but also really necessary for his gimmick to make sense. But we will see that just in a moment. Luke Cage also has an action ability which lets him search the upgrade bursting process, either from his deck or his discard pile. So most of the time you start the game with a hand size of 7. At least if you don't draw the upgrade with your mulligan. But even then, you can use the card as a resource before activating Luke's ability and getting it right back into your hand. The upgrade itself lets you put a tough status card on Luke Cage if he already has at least 1 or 2 tough status cards if he hasn't. This card obviously is good, but it is an alter ego action, so no easy access to it every round. At least not if you have a problem with threat removal. But let's talk about that after I showed you every read card from his kit. The theme is obvious. Luke likes to have tough status cards on him and Burst Steam Process delivers a steady supply of them. So let's take a look at Luke's hero side. He thwarts and attacks for 2 and defense for 1. Most of the time it won't matter how much defense Luke has. So I like it that he saves his stats there and instead thwarts for 2. Yes, the stat line is good. His sensors in hero form is 5 and he has 10 hit points, which I forgot to mention before. Well, I feel like more HP would have been nice for Luke, but since he has easy access to tough status cards, I get it. As I said, his hero side shares the passive skill with his alter ego. On top of that, he has a forced response. After a tough status card is discarded from Luke Cage, he takes 1 unpreventable damage, ignoring tough. Unpreventable damage is a new mechanic introduced with Luke Cage, but it is very straightforward. This damage cannot be prevented by any means. On Luke Cage I like this effect. In my opinion it makes the identity more dynamic. You cannot just simply stay in hero form and tank attack after attack. At least not if you don't build a deck that specializes on healing. But even then, that's a choice you had to make, because this ability exists in the first place. But now that unpreventable damage exists, it most likely will be printed on other cards in the future. And I'm not sure if I like that thought. But well, we see about that in the future. To help Luke to lose all his tough status cards all too fast, he comes with an upgrade that prevents damage. Metal Bracer not only gives Luke Cage Retaliate 1, it also can be exhausted when Luke Cage would take any amount of damage in order to prevent 1 damage. Actually, Luke Cage comes with 2 Metal Bracers. This card I love. Retaliate is awesome and the fact that this way Luke can defend against a lot of minions simply is great. The ones that attack for more than 2 damage he also can handle. This I'm sure of. My only nitpick is that the artwork for the Metal Bracer and the artwork of the hero do not match. And to make sure that I mention it, Metal Bracer cannot prevent the unpreventable damage from Luke Force's response. The other upgrade that was revealed in the article is Power Man. This card simply lets you draw a card after a tough status card is discarded from Luke Cage. Unfortunately, the card also gets exhausted when you activate its ability. I do feel like that this was not necessary, especially because you can yourself discard your tough status cards in order to get beneficial effects. For example, the event Knuckle Sandwich deals 3 damage to an enemy. You then may discard a tough status card from Luke Cage to return this event to your hand. If Power Man is already exhausted from the previous villain phase, you cannot draw another card by activating Knuckle Sandwich's optional effect. I think that is a shame. The event is quite cheap at least. But maybe I'm wrong here and Power Man would simply be too strong if you could activate its ability multiple times in one round. It mostly depends on how easy it really is to stack a lot of tough status cards and on how many ways you have to discard them on your own. Well, I'm excited to find that out when I get my hands on my own copy. The next event I want to talk about is Stand With Me. It reads, give Luke Cage a tough status card. Remove 1 threat from a scheme for each tough status card on Luke Cage, to a maximum of 5. So, here we have the card that lets us change into alter ego form in order to activate Bursting Process. When we do that, we at least will have 4 tough status cards on Luke Cage, including the one we get for playing Stand With Me. So most of the time I'll thwart for 4 and 1 tough status card for an effective cost of 3. Not bad, not bad. Of course, you can play the card without changing an alter ego beforehand and thus can have fewer tough status cards on Luke. But since Luke has basic thwart of 2, he can manage thwart quite well, I guess. Sweet Christmas is an event that costs 1 less for each tough status card on Luke Cage. It is an attack that deals 5 damage to the villain and each minion engaged with you. To be totally honest, this card does not excite me. Sure, if it is easy to reliably play it for 2 or less, then it is good. Quite good even. And if you play a scenario with a lot of minions, this card almost always will be good value. But still, I feel like most of the time it's just somewhat cheap 5 damage to the villain. But Jessica Jones on the other side does look quite good. She gets +1 thwart for each tough status card on your identity to a maximum of +4. With her on the field, you basically can freely change into Alter Ego in order to activate Bursting Process. But well, I don't really have anything more to say about her. She's quite straightforward, simply a good signature ally. So, these are all identity-specific cards that got reread today. What's my first impression on Luke Cage's kit? To be honest, I'm not sure. While preparing the presentation I was quite unimpressed, but now that I talked a little about it, I think I warmed up to it. But still, I think that Luke Cage's kit is weaker than Jessica's, which got revealed last week. She also promises to offer a more unique playstyle. But I digress. I think it all comes down to how good Luke Cage really is at amassing tough status cards. If he can reliably have 2 or more on him whenever you need them, then he will be quite good. If you always struggle to amass more than 1, then I think he will not feel rewarding to play. But there are 3 cards from his kit that didn't get revealed today. So there's still question marks and thus a final verdict cannot be formed just yet. But what we can take a look at are the ways you already can get some more tough status cards. These are not all that are available, but most of them. I think Come Get Me Bub will be heavily played in Protection Luke Cage. Hidden Base on the other hand kind of has anti-synergy with Bursting Process, since Hidden Base would activate before you could use Bursting Process and thus the upgrade would only give you 1 tough status card. Invulnerability fittingly features Luke Cage in its artwork, but I think for effective costs still are way too expensive. The other ones are okay I guess, but not great either. So I don't know whether I'm optimistic or not, but why not let us take a look at the ratio of identity-specific cards? Because we actually know quite a lot about them. Because of the numbers in the brackets in the bottom right, and especially because of the numeration below even that, we basically know exactly how many copies every card has, no matter whether it was revealed or not. We know that either Knuckle Sandwich or the card between it and Jessica Jones come with 2 copies. Since I believe that the cards that are revealed always are the first copy of that card, I'm confident that Knuckle Sandwich only will be included once. This also makes sense if you consider its effect. That means that the missing card between Jessica and Knuckle Sandwich has 2 copies, most likely an event. We also know that either Sweet Christmas or the unknown card after it will be included twice. I believe it will be Sweet Christmas, because this is the only way that an unrevealed card comes with only 1 copy, and I would really be surprised if Luke Cage would come without any support. So I believe that this is the ratio of all the cards. If that's correct, we easily could see enough cards that help us further in getting even more tough status cards on Luke Cage. I would predict that either slot 3 or slot 9 help us here. The other slot most likely will do something like Knuckle Sandwich, in that it will allow us to spend a tough status card in order to get a beneficial effect. What the supposedly support will do, I don't have a clue though. Well, I guess we'll see. Now let's take a short look on the other cards that got revealed. Unbreakable Bond we already saw last week from Jessica's reveal. This team up card is great, and as you will see just in a moment, it got even better. Power Man and Iron Fist has a good effect, no doubt about that. It deals 2 damage to an enemy and gives a tough status card to a character. All that for 1 effective resource. If there's a good Iron Fist ally, then this card will be good as well. As it so happens, a new Iron Fist ally was revealed as well. But before we talk about him, let's take a look at Dynamic Duo. This basic event lets you search your deck and discard pile for a team-up card and an ally named by that card's team-up keyword. Add those cards to your hand. I really like this card, and I like that it is not limited to 1 or 2 copies. I don't know why, but I always like to play team-up cards, no matter whether they are good or not. With Dynamic Duo, I will be able to do so more consistently in the future. Simply awesome. But now let's talk about the newly revealed leadership cards, and with that Iron Fist. Here's an interrupt that reads, when Iron Fist defends against an enemy attack, prevent damage from that attack equal to Iron Fist's attack. Well, I think you can see that this card really fits well into Luke Cage's game plan. But even if we don't consider that, I really like this card. Just from the top of my head, I can see it more or less in every Tigra deck. Yes, she really will like him. Misty Knight is the other ally that got revealed. She comes with toughness and gets +2 attack and thwart, while she has a tough status card. My first intuition is that I don't believe in this card. Sure, in combination with Defense Formation, another card that got reread, this card does put out good numbers. This support comes with 3 counters, and as an action you can exhaust it. Remove a counter from it and give a tough status card to a defender ally. So this card practically was made for Misty Knight. So, Misty basically converts defensive formation into either 6 thwart, 6 damage, or a combination of both. While the numbers are alright, this combo is quite slow. I think I don't like it. But to be honest, I want to try it out myself before I really judge these cards. Take a Stand is an event that buffs your allies after your hero defense. This +1/+1 buff stays until the end of the player phase. Conceptually, this card is cool. I like it, but whether it is good remains to be seen. I'm not sure. But now let's get to the last card. It's a really cool one. Righteous Purpose is a support that can be played under any player's control, but every player can only have one copy in play. It reads, each character you control that has exactly 1 hit point remaining gets +2 thwart and +2 attack. As I already said, I really like this card. It's another step from FFG into the direction of desensitize players from using their allies to jump block. While yes, this card does make it more attractive to use the last activation of your ally in order to attack or thwart, the real value of this card lies within allies that don't have consequential damage or ways to circumvent it. I don't listen all of them here, but these ones should be enough to show how cool Righteous Purpose can be. Just thwart once with Black Cat in order to get her down to 1 remaining hit point. Do the same with Yondu or Cosmo. With Blade you have to be more creative, but still you can make this combo work with them. Since this video already is long enough, I won't go into more detail here, but I really think that this card is really cool, if nothing else. And that's it, all cards that got reviewed in today's article. I do like what Luke Cage brings to the table, but he has not made the same impression on me as his wife left. I'm curious what his remaining 3 cards will be, and whatever that is, I'm looking forward to play him. But that will have to wait for later this year. Who knows when their hero packs will hit Germany. For now, I wish you a great rest of your day. Take care.